pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
Hello viewers, you're welcome to Let's Talk About. Let's Talk About is a real understanding of social issues that bothers us as Christians. You're welcome to this week's edition. Today we are discussing the Christian and integrity in the family and society. Joining us today are some members of Trinity United Church to discuss today's topic. From my immediate left is Mr. Ni Adokwe Abrahams. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And then next to Ni Adokwe is affectionately called Auntie Bridget, right? But she is Dr. Bridget Gogodako. You're also welcome.
Thank you very much.
And I will be your host, Annie Owusua Nkulenu. Let me remind viewers that we are streaming live on our social media platforms on Trinity United Church Legon, both on YouTube and Facebook. You would send your comments and questions to the media platforms on our and also on our WhatsApp page as well on the number 050-15-79996. The number is 050-15-79996. So thank you very much for coming to help us understand this very intriguing and, let's say, challenging topic. Because every time we talk about integrity, there's always the question of, where do I stand? You start questioning yourself one way or the other, whether you are adults or children. That is, if the children understand what exactly it's all about. But before we delve into it, we have some few sponsors. So let me just acknowledge our sponsors. I'd like to acknowledge Electro Darkon House. They are lighting, electrical and digital specialists, agents for Philips Lighting, Legrand, and Modular Lighting as well. You can contact them on 059-384-5512. We have another sponsor, that's Coolant Catering Services. You can be assured of getting your very sumptuous meals from Coolant Catering Services, East Legon. And you can contact them on 020-211-0134. Thank you. Okay, so when we talk about integrity, what exactly are we talking about? What do we mean by integrity? Maybe I'll have to start with Ni Adokwe.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, viewers. Integrity, you're looking simply at being truthful in all you do. And it's essentially the quality of being honest and holding strong moral principles. And you want to, at all times, remain true to those principles or being honest in everything, in anything you do. So what do you believe in? What are your beliefs? You want to keep up to those beliefs in anything you find yourselves doing. Essentially, integrity has to do with being truthful.
But this is very difficult, because saying that I need to be truthful in every single thing that I'm doing, it's a very, very challenging one in this society in which we are. But I'm sure we'll delve into that as well. Auntie Bridget, what can you add to this? Understanding integrity, what exactly do we mean?
Okay, so thank you very much, Auntie Annie. Good evening to our viewers. I think what I will add is you must do this. I think Uncle Nee talks about doing it all the time. and it seems difficult. But I'm going to add the dimension of whether we are being watched or not. Because it's easy to do the right thing when you know people are looking at you. But to have integrity all the time, whether you are being watched or not, and completely trustworthy, completely honest, completely dependable. It is not easy, but and when you look at it, it's not really it's not a religious or a Christian word. It's secular, but for us Christians, it's even more meaningful and required of us.
So it's very understandable that at every point in time I need to be cautious of these, because you are saying that whether I'm being watched or not. But the issue is that how do I look at integrity in the family perspective? How does it come to play as a value for the family? How does it come to play?
So if I am to respond to this, essentially, I've been truthful. So I think last week, if we listen to Brother Coker, I think he put it simply, and he said the program could have ended in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let your yes be yes. Let your yes be yes, and your no be no. And I think that is where the challenge is, because we seem to say things all the time, and we have to retract almost all the time. So your child wants something done, and you say one thing, the next moment you are saying another. And sometimes they're not too sure exactly what you are saying. I mean, a quick example to cite, that let's say you want to avoid seeing somebody, and the person comes knocking at your door, or the person is calling you on your phone, and the first thing you say is, pick the phone and tell the person I'm not around. Or the child comes to bring stuff and says, someone is calling you, say, I don't want to speak with him because I'm not available. You've lied. And these are things, you see, we do these things, you don't realize exactly what you are doing, but these are things you are sowing as we raise our children. And that is why Bridget comes from, where it says, whether you are being watched or not. So maybe your children are not watching over you, so you think it's easy to lie over. If when there's someone older than you who is available, who's watching over you, you think that, oh, let me be truthful. But hey, the children are also picking signals, and it's a difficult thing to do. Actually, it's actually very difficult, because, like I said earlier, you have to be truthful at all times, no matter the circumstance. Suffer the whole consequences, but you still have to be truthful.
How easy is it
It
for
isn't
me
easy.
as a parent who wants to guide the child, who doesn't really understand where I'm coming from, to say yes is yes, no is no, and that's it? How easy is it for me to convince this child? Auntie Bridget, you deal with a lot of children. So we are modeling these family values into the children. How easy is it? How do I go about this? How does it affect the values that we stand for? And how do we let these children know that this is the value and let us stand by it?
I think, as we said from the beginning, it's not easy. If we pretend it's easy, we would be shooting ourselves in the leg. It is not easy, but we have to tell ourselves, we have to make a conscious effort to do it, and we might fall short, but then go back and work at it. And if it means apologizing to our children, we must call them and apologize, so they know that, yes, mommy, daddy did the wrong thing, and they are, because as Nee says, we confuse them sometimes. Sometimes with mobile phones, we are at Dansoman, but we say, oh, I'm at airport, I'll be there in 2 minutes. And your children know you are at Dansoman, you are not at airport. So they are watching us. So we must make a conscious effort to work on being truthful all the time. And by that, we can affect our children, because children learn from watching us. They are modeling us. They are picking from us. We might not know what they've picked. Sometimes they are very little and non-essential, but then these values. So if we really want to, we talk about our society now, if we really want to see a better society for our children, we as parents need to sit up and work on being truthful, being dependable, being honest all the time, so our children can pick, because the children are picking the wrong things and they are imbibing, and then it's affecting them as people.
Okay, so just as we are saying, we keep talking about us as parents or as the adults in the house trying to impact this. Society in itself also has an impact when it comes to integrity. What do you think society is bringing up right now when it comes to the issue of integrity, just the term integrity? What is society, what's the impact of society on this right now?
So we all know that the basic unit, within the society is a family.
It's a family.
Right. That is the basic unit within the society. It's a family. So if all of us are going to start off from within our families and be truthful to each other, hold high moral standards, it will translate into the society. Because what you are doing in the family is wrong, that's what we carry into the society. And so you are right. The society today is also leading us in a way. We ourselves, we are the society. We have created a society in which we find ourselves telling ourselves all kinds of stories all the time. And therefore, we have created a society in which we learn to lie, to get away with things. We do the wrong, and instead of owning up, we are quick to say, I'm not the one. We are quick to find reasons that we know are untrue. And yes, so you will manage to get away with it, but the truth of the matter is that you've gone away. And then we'll go back and tell our children, when you lie, it's a sin. And like Auntie Bridget said once again, they watch, they hear. So you are lying to the child, and constantly the child is hearing you. The child moves away from the home, goes into a school, goes into a compound to play, meets a family friend, an adult parent or something, a friend of the parents, and they are lying, and the child can see through it. So we are teaching our children day in, day out to do the wrong thing. And yet we are also struggling to teach them the right. So where do we bridge the gap? Where you are, and it's essentially confusing the children at all times. Because one time you want the children to do the right thing. At another time you encourage the child to do the wrong thing. But you're not noticing that that's what you are doing.
So, but here's the case. I meet a child. Let's say we are out there. We meet a child who comes from a different family with different family values. They are not Christians. They don't believe in this integrity you're talking about. How do I distinguish, or how do I let my children distinguish the fact that this is a family value? We must uphold this. So the question is, what is the fine line of letting children understand that this is a family value? If it's not even just integrity, anything that we would deem as a family value, how do we inculcate that thing into the children to understand that this is it? Because we as parents may take it that, integrity is one of the things that we uphold in the family. But how do we let the children understand this?
I think that as we model it and they learn, they know my family, we do X, Y, Z. If they go and see a child doing something else, some will come to you and say, oh, mommy or daddy, this person was doing this. But they know that they should not do that. I'll give an example. And I think about 2 weeks or so ago, my husband took my son for a driving test. And the first attempt, he failed. They went again after 2 weeks. And the instructor or the examiner asked to drive around with him. And then when they came back, my son told my husband that the man told him on the drive that this thing that you are worrying yourself, let your father sort me out and you will be good to go. And he told him, my father will not do that. And so at the point when he was being tested, my husband hadn't had any discussion with him, but he said he could see that they were waiting for him to fail. They were waiting for him to make a mistake. But fortunately, he did not. So he's picked something. So I think unconsciously, we all didn't expect him to say that to the man. But then unconsciously, they have picked something.
Yeah.
So it behoves on us as parents to make sure we are doing it no matter how it's difficult for all of us. We all fall short. But like I said, sometimes when you know that you have really done the wrong thing in front of the children, you have to call them, apologize to them. If it means apologizing to someone, let them see you do it so that they see that you mean what you are teaching them. And it would help us nurture these children, because what they see us do is what they will do, not what they hear us tell them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Just to add quickly, you know the Bible will tell you, train up the child. And that's the example Bridget is citing. Train up the child the way he should go. When he grows, he will not depart from it. So you see, because you've inculcated that habit of truthfulness into the child, he gets onto the field without anybody prompting. The tester says, Charlie, tell your father to sort me out. He says, my father, he's not going to do this. Now, 10 years after this, if this little boy is gone into a certain situation and he's being confronted to a situation where he needs to sort someone out, pay a bribe to get something done, he's going to remember this and say, my father never did it, I will not do it. I was taught never to do this. He won't do it.
but we live in a society where everybody is paying. And so why won't my father just pay? My father is being wicked. But you see, because I'm saying this because we go to schools and you realize that in the schools, the kind of peer pressure that comes with these kind of behaviors, it makes it very difficult for the students to say no. Examination, for example. What do we see happening? The person is looking for papers to go through, questions to go through before they even go and write it. Everybody is watching, everybody is reading. How easy is it? What is, I keep hammering on the kids, because how easy is it for that child to say, because of integrity? You see, the word integrity, for example, even with adults, it becomes difficult to explain sometimes because you know you are at fault.
Yeah.
So how do we even break this down for the child? That at that moment, with all the peer pressure, what should I do? The dilemma is so much. I've seen the paper in front of me. What should I do?
I think I would take this. As you said, I work with children. Aside the church, I work with children at schools. And there was one boy, after we had spoken to them, I think this was 2 years ago, came up to the lady I went for the program with and told her, Auntie, you know what? What you have said about examination malpractice, I feel God talking to me, because I've actually borrowed money to go and pay for papers. But I realized that I am not that bad. If I study, I would be able to pass. But then everybody was contributing. I didn't have money. I couldn't ask my parents. So this is someone who knows that he cannot go to the parents for money. There are some whose parents will be the ones to try to pass on the information, or even sometimes teachers. But this boy realized that no, from his Christian background, he had been pressured to a point, but he actually heard God speaking to him and so withdrew. Later, he was telling us that he really had a big issue with the group, because you've been part of it. We have agreed it's a budget. Now, if you come and take your money out, you've punched a hole in the bag. How are we going to get the papers? But he stood by his word, and the results came. He had 7 A's and a B. And he was like, Auntie, I know if I had gone on, I would not have passed my papers. And so sometimes some of these feedbacks let us see that if parents would be more intentional, we would really get somewhere. So it's difficult, but there are some who are ready to stand for it. Last year, there was a student who actually told me that, Auntie, the papers will leak and we will see them and we will write them. We will write. And she could look me in the face and tell me when we had just spoken to them about examination malpractices. So it's really difficult because there are people who are there who want to influence you to do the wrong thing.
So I would ask a question about you having that family value as a nuclear family. But what about when the extended comes in and their values are totally different? But before that, you see, in schools, for example, you have parents who are buying these questions for their children. And even sometimes the school itself buys it for the children. So if the school is giving you the questions, that one, which crime did the child commit?
So that is where this issue about the confusion comes in. We give one moral principle, but practice the other. Think about it. 15 years ago, those who are holding top official offices, where were they? 20 years ago, where were they? They were in school. Now, when we come and complain that the society is broken, the moral fiber within the society is broken, we are corrupt. What we don't, and that's why that's what the point we keep making. We don't realize that these things that we do, it's what leads the children where they end up. So when the child grows up, becomes an accountant and learns to add an extra 0 to the 1,000 to make 10,000, we didn't realize that when we're telling the child that instead of what you saw as A, put B, when we bribed the policeman at the gate and went to the examination room, we didn't realize that's what we were doing. When our parents, my mother, encouraged me to go and buy an examination paper, give it to me at the day before or the early morning before the paper, and I went to write, we didn't realize that they would lead me to a situation where when I'm going for a driving test, I'm going for a passport, I'll give the Guru boy an extra 100 cedi to go. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, the Minister for Foreign Affairs was screaming on the airwaves that she was virtually sacking all the security agencies who had been there for more than 1 year. Why? When were these people employed? What did they learn when they were in SSS, GSS? This is what we taught them. So I'm saying we have created this for ourselves. So once again, if we go back to the basic of the family and do the basic unit of the society, and we do the right thing from the beginning, a lot of us are going to work out from the family, being truthful to each other, do the right thing, own up, bear the consequences. We would have a better society. Truth be told, today, if you want to do the right thing, you will suffer for it. Now, this child who Bridget mentions that refused to pay some money, it could have ended up with all these. That would have been a consequence to pay. That for the fact that you didn't pay your way through to get the examination questions, you would fail the papers. Is that a better consequence to live with than to go and buy the paper and all is? Which is better? So that is where we need to be able to explain to the child that it is better to be honest and fail.
Exactly.
Rather than to be dishonest and pass. That is all all of us are going through the route of being dishonest and passing. Being dishonest and getting what we want. That's all all of us are doing. So today I want a driver's license. I want a shortcut. I want a vehicle, roadworthy certificate. I want a shortcut. I want a passport. I want a shortcut. I want a job. I want a shortcut. Everybody's looking for shortcut. You want admission, you are paying.
So you see, just as you were saying, somebody says, I'm sure one of our viewers will be sitting there and say that, hey, this man,
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Exactly. You don't know what you're talking about. Because I don't know, this is a normal thing that is going on. But here's the case, sometimes even within the family, when we just extend it a little to the extended family, you don't hold the same values.
Yeah.
Sure.
So here's the case, you are trying to manage your nuclear family, giving them all these values of integrity. Be trustworthy, be truthful, be consistent with saying yes is yes, your no is no. And then a family member, extended one, comes and say, we have bought the thing already. So let's hand it. How do you manage these other family members, not going beyond the nuclear.
Okay, I think it's like an extension from what you would do in the society.
Yeah.
So your extended family are still going into the bigger society. They might be more in contact with your children than the ones beyond. I think that what is important to do is to let your children know that if A is A and anybody says is B, regardless of who the person is, it doesn't mean you must disrespect the person, but then you know that this is what it is. Because even the Bible tells us to obey our children in the Lord. So if the extended family member is telling the child something which is not what you have taught the child, I'm sure the child, out of confusion, would come and ask you. The child might not come to ask you. And this is where we need to pray for our children, because we don't know the challenges they are going through. We don't know the battles that are going on in their minds. So we need to train them. We need to have a friendship with them. We need to let them know that you can come back to me with anything and everything, and we can discuss. We need to have times when it's not just about Bible studies and we are studying the Bible, which is very, very important, but then discussing social issues, because a lot of things are being thrown at them now. Social media, their peers, as you said, extended family, they see sometimes they think that, oh, Uncle Nee is mommy's friend.
Yes.
So if Uncle Nee says something,
Yes,
it's just like mommy saying it. But you need to let them understand that if what Uncle Nee is telling you is in conflict with what I have taught you, please keep to mind.
Okay.
But then don't disrespect Uncle Nee. So it's very, and we should be able to call our relations to order when our children tell us they've told them things that are contrary to what we have taught them.
So if I understand it, I mean, the entire discussion so far boils down on the fact that we need to communicate. Yeah. We need to be able to relate with each other within the family to be able to imbibe these values in them.
Yeah.
Right. So whilst we do this, which role do you think the church has to play?
I mean, largely, church is where we pick up all our Christian values. Right, okay. So, once again, I mean, I'll come back to it. And Bridget mentioned something. Your children, no matter how sometimes people get at them, I mean, take a typical child who's gone to school, comes back home, you tell her one thing, and the child goes quickly and says, and my teacher says. So if you have these moral values well inculcated in the child, sometimes they are able to stand up on their own and tell you, my mother will say, I shouldn't do this. So immediately they come home, he say, Mom, you taught me this. Daddy, you taught me this. But uncle says ABC. And then you can quickly correct. Now, where the church comes in, after we have raised our children, or as we raise our children, of course, we don't live in an island as a family. Once again, like Bridget put it, our extended family is an extension of the society. The church becomes some form of an extension of the larger society. So we bring our children from home into the society, and the church becomes a wider society in which we bring our children into. And children from various families come into this community to form the church. Now, what principles or what teachings are we taking from the word day in, day out, Sunday after Sunday, Wednesday after Wednesday, prayer meeting after prayer meeting, which we want to live by as parents, as Christian families? And then we go back home and go refresh the children's memory and say, this is what we learned today. And that's why we bring the children to Sunday school. So we are expecting the children to be taught appropriately. Unfortunately, if my Sunday school teachers come and teach my child one thing, but demonstrate another, it becomes a challenge. If my minister teaches something in the pulpit, but demonstrate another character, it It's an unfortunate thing. So these are things we'll all be learning. If I come to church and I see Sister Annie, I see Sister Bridget, I see Uncle George, I see Nia Dokwe, and they demonstrate one thing, right? But speak other words, then you're confusing the children. So essentially, let's do for ourselves what we want done for our children. Let's do for other children what we want done to our children. So if I want my children to behave in a particular way, let me also treat Bridget's children the same way. So that Bridget will also treat my children the same way. Let us learn to raise our children together. In a Christian upbringing, the Bible becomes the basis upon which we raise our children. The Bible does not teach any of us to lie. The Bible does not teach any of us to run away from our responsibility, even if we'll be punished. And look, Daniel and his friends, and I always go back to this. Daniel and his friends at the point said, this is what the Bible tells, this is what my God tells me. I'm not going to fall for this. I'm not going to bow, I'm not going to watch, I'm not going to listen to you. If you put me in there, I will suffer it. I don't care. I know that my Lord will redeem me. And they went in there. Now, if the Lord had not redeemed them, they would have been bent. Right? Today, we are able to look back and say they didn't. But, madam, you know, Stephen went the road and he died. Paul, before he became Saul before he became Paul, also persecuted Christians who were walking a certain route. So, yes, some will suffer, some will be snatched. I mean, some will be picked up, yes, but others will suffer. The point is that if we just want to look at the pain and run away from it, or the suffering that will come with our endurance and we want to run away from it, then we will end up having the kind of society we don't want. So somebody must bear the brunt at a certain point in time, and we must face the consequences. I mean, once again, going back to this example, if Uncle Felix refuses to pay a bribe to the driving tester, the examiner, the next thing that will happen is that the criminal would have been failed the second time, would have been failed the third time. I would rather prefer to would you prefer to live with that, or you want to pay your way out? And those are the principles we want to teach our children constantly.
So I'm sure that whilst we still deliberate on how the church comes to play and all that, we will be talking about some of the benefits that this integrity brings to us as a family. We'll also talk about maybe some few challenges and then how to forge ahead, how best we'll be able to get this thing done in such a way that everybody is comfortable and very good at whatever it is that we do. So whilst you think about that, well, I'd like to remind viewers that we are still discussing the Christian and integrity in the family and society. In the studio with me, Mr. Ni Adokwe Abrahams, and then Auntie Bridget as well. They've done so well in helping us understand these. And then they are all members of Trinity United Church, Legon. We'll go for a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Thank you.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
This is GKV Foods, a community-based zero-waste agro-processing company focused on the coconut value chain. It came about as a result of the health condition of the owner. So I was diagnosed with diabetes, and a friend introduced me to coconut oil as a food supplement to help stabilize my sugars. So after a couple of months taking the oil, I realized that yes, there was a significant change in my sugars, which caused me to look more into the coconut oil as a food supplement. Our product is basically the coconut oil and then coconut powder, coconut shell charcoal. We are looking into other new products, including coconut snacks. Basically, we use the cold press methodology. So At no point do we add heat or any additive for that matter. So it's just pure coconut oil squeezed out of the coconut meat. We currently can do about 25,000 nuts a day. So 30,000 liters of coconut oil in a month.
Welcome back, viewers. Don't forget to send your comments and questions to both our Facebook and YouTube pages on Trinity United Church Legon. You can also send your comments and questions to our WhatsApp number 050 157 9996. 050 157 9996. Thank you very much, and welcome back. I'd like to also acknowledge our sponsors, because without them we can't, get this thing done. So allow me to acknowledge our sponsors. I'd like to acknowledge Electro Darkon House. They are lighting, electronic and digital specialists. They are agents of Philip Lighting, Legrand and modular lighting systems as well. And you could get them on 059 384 5512. 059 384 5512. I would like to also thank our sponsor, Cool Land Catering Services, East Legon. You can get your sumptuous meals from Cool Land Catering Services. You can also get them on 020 211 0134. 020-211-0134. So thank you very much, Nia Adokwe and Auntie Bridget. Just as we were saying before we went on the break, we're talking about the church. Okay, which aspect does the church come to play in bringing forth this whole issue of integrity into our family values? And Auntie Bridget, I think you wanted to add one or two to it before we continue.
Yes. As a Sunday school teacher, I would want to add that we have the children only on Sundays, at most 2.5 hours. We realize that when children go home, a lot of times parents do not follow up on what has been done in Sunday school. And for me, it breaks my heart, because we send the signal that secular school is more important than Sunday school. Because when the children come home from secular school or regular school, first thing, did you bring homework? Go and do your homework. We come from Sunday school. We don't ask, what did you learn today? What didn't you understand? Because sometimes they are even confused. What didn't you understand? What did teachers say at Sunday school? So I think as parents, whatever Sunday school teachers do on Sunday, we should make sure that the children have understood, they are living by it. We become helpers to these children. Sometimes we tell them, go and look for accountability partners. They might not come to you because they don't want to be pushed to do anything. But then when you ask, they are forced to let you know. So I think as parents, it's important we get feedback on Sundays, discuss it further with the children, try to even use it to inculcate our family values through it. And also, as we as adults come to church, we also pick what is preached on the pulpit, go back into the Bible, and then try to live by it. So
So sometimes, Auntie Bridget, just as you are talking about Sunday school, you realize that there are some children who come for Sunday school, but their parents are not Christians.
Yes.
How do they handle this?
That is a very big challenge. So for these children, the Sunday school teachers need to go the extra mile to not just give the word on Sunday, but we need to follow these children up some more. We have some who have Muslim parents, but they still come for every activity of this church. And we try to nurture them, we try to let them understand that the fact that your parents are not Christians does not mean you should disrespect them. With your good deeds and your prayers, you can win them over. So for these people also, if we know people who live around who can support and help them, then I think we need to do more of reaching out to the children beyond Sundays. Yes. Okay. So that's a challenge, and it's a difficult one. Okay. Because sometimes you are told one thing and you see your parents doing the exact opposite of what has been said. Some will come to you and actually tell you that this thing you say, mommy and daddy don't do it, or they do otherwise. So then you let them understand, yes, they are your parents. And that's why the Bible says, obey your parents in the Lord. So if you are told to do something which is outside what the Bible says, you cannot disrespect them, but find an elderly person who your parents respect and talk to them so that you find a neutral ground to meet. But it's not easy, and we need to pray a lot for the children when it comes to that. So, okay, do you want to add?
Yeah, before you go on, I mean, the examples Bridget cites, and sometimes can be very difficult, especially for a child who lives with a parent. About a month or a month and a half ago, maximum 2 months ago, we're having a discussion with the youth, the youth choir in particular. And it had to do with obeying your parents in the Lord, actually. And so one of the youth choir members asked the question. So if you have what's the word they used? Like, let's say a parent who does not behave well, right? Doesn't take care of you, kind of thing. Asks you to do something, sends you. Would you respond? And so that's where the difficulty is. So this is, for example, this is a father doesn't take care of me, won't pay my school fees, won't buy me clothing. If I'm sitting at home and he says, fetch me water to drink, am I going to say I'm not going to fetch the water? It is a difficult thing to do. But the thing says, obey your father in the Lord, obey your parents in the Lord. Maybe if he sends me to go take a gun and shoot, that one I can say I won't do. If he sends me to fetch water for him to drink, buy me food to eat, that one you may want to do it. But the difficulty is that at that point you are internalizing and asking yourself, this man doesn't do anything for me. Why should I respond to what he's asking for? And that's the difficulty. And so today you have children who are not raised by their parents. They are well-to-do. Their parents are sick. They say, I will not take off my father. I will not take off because one shame it. And that's the difficulty.
But the issue is that still upholding this integrity. If you grew up with it and somebody, like, let's say in the youth choir, for example, has gotten to a point where the person thinks that, oh, I can take care of myself, therefore, to hell with any family values and all that. How easy is it for us to convince the person that, no, still uphold those family values, despite the fact that your parents did not do this? Because in this case, I am taking care of myself. Why do I have to obey my parents? Okay. At what point would they tell me that, oh, remember we had all these family values, therefore still go by it, when you are still not doing the same? So when we look at it, the challenges still comes in here, even for parents. Because the difficulty is there for you to still go by the values. And your child has learnt it. So what do I use to convince this child?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, So this child has learned good values.
Yes.
And this child is grown.
Yes.
But if the child learned good values from their parents, at what point is this child saying, okay, I'm taking care of myself now, so...
Oh, right now, the parents are not going by the values that they taught them.
Oh, okay.
They feel
okay,
that the child
okay.
is all grown.
Okay,
I mean,
so now they have deviated
exactly
from what they taught the child.
Exactly.
I think the most important thing is to know that these values are expected of us as Christians. We are supposed to be the light of the world. We are supposed to be the salt of the world. And Daniel, we cite, and Daniel and his friends were young men at the time. They were youth, or in this time we say JY, at the time. And when they sought to have something against him, when you read Daniel 6, they couldn't find anything. And so they said, okay, the only thing we can find is against his commitments to his God. So the most important person is God. So yes, you are lucky. Your father or your mother or your parents have given you the good values. But those good values are first and foremost to God, to yourself, to your nuclear, and then the society in general. Yeah. So yes, they have deviated. You should rather seek to bring them back by still upholding those good values.
That's great, but I'm sure they will still have difficulties and have excuses for you, but we'll come to whatever the benefits will be. We have a comment by one of our viewers. It says, Christians must have good integrity as seen in Proverbs 10:9. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but who makes his way crooked would be found out. Okay, so this is a comment by Gloria Amegache. Okay, and it says that integrity is linked to confidence and strong sense of self-control to make informed decisions about our lives. So just as she is saying, she's telling us that if we don't live in the way of what? Integrity, if we don't apply this to our lives, at the end of the day, where does it end us? We fail.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you will fail.
But how many people would accept that me buying that question and getting the A is still a failure in a way?
You see, so you end up scoring the A's, and then we will think that you are the brightest of students.
But I am.
And then we will assign you something to do. Responsibility based on your grades.
Okay.
And then we'll realize that you are unable to do it. Did you go or did you come? That's the question we ask today.
Well, we have another comment by our own Reverend Dr. Martin Obin. It says that at all times we must know that all things are lawful, but it is not all things that are helpful.
Thank you.
Reverend, thank you very much. So at all times, just as you said, we must be consistent. We must be consistent in upholding what? This integrity that we have. Well,
I mean, before we go, you see, and let us drum home the fact that you choose to lead a certain kind of life, being morally upright, living a Christian life, it is going to be difficult because anyone else out there is doing the opposite. The majority are actually doing the opposite of what you want to do. So you are more like the single one out. That's where the difficulty is. As I sit here now, one of our church members actually works in a particular school where virtually she's more like the only person who says no to anything that is wrong. If you find yourself where you are with 13 of your colleagues and all of them are going the other way around, the other side, and you are the only one going this way. So she's more like almost all the time on the defensive.
And I
the
think
day you fall in, there's this expression. They say they will sack or can't summon Adriani.
Yeah, Adriani.
Yeah, what is summon?
Just a Woody.
Just a Woody. The day you do it once, you have to follow through.
And I think that those are some of the challenges that come with upholding integrity.
Yes.
We will be talking about the benefits of upholding integrity. Let me read a comment again by Gloria. It says that a person with high integrity is more likely to feel content in life since they know what their values and priorities are and aren't afraid to take action to pursue them.
Yeah.
So whilst these are some of the benefits that we have, it says teach the children some moral values. Okay, we owe school fees and plead to buy time only to take the kid to another school without paying. The kid sees this as normal and practices on their mates and grows with it. So it means that even the parents, there are things that we are doing that probably we have not even thought of it as what, just bringing down this whole issue of integrity. But the students, the children know.
Well, so it's a principle. Teach the child the way he should go. And the teaching the child the way he should go is not only by speaking, it's by acting. So whether you are acting rightly or wrongly, you are teaching the child. So the wrong thing that you are doing today is what you are imbibing in the child tomorrow. And so if you continue to do it, that's what the child has grown with. He will not depart from it. If you teach the child the right thing today, he will grow with the right thing and will also not depart from it. If you confuse the child will grow up confused.
I want to say something. I know a family. Growing up, I saw how things were. I saw the kind of upbringing, and I had a bit of a challenge because I grew up in a Presbyterian home. My dad, Basil, and you have to do this, and it is this. If you go, I used to try to argue my way out. I'll say it's not fair. Yes, he'll tell you, I know it's not fair, but I'm doing it. And when he says that, you have to do that. And so I saw, and I used to wonder. And believe you me, 40 years down the line, they have issues, huge issues among themselves. And one of them actually told me that this stems from our mom. Our mom is the cause of all these issues we are having. And at that time, she felt she was protecting her children. So everything they did was right. Everything, even when she knew it was wrong, she would fight you. And then now it's turned back to haunt her. So we need to realize that the seeds we sow now, be it much as it's very, very difficult. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. No, far from it. We are all learning. And we are all trying to be, but to get to the mark. But when we tend to accept that it's okay because everybody is doing it, then that is where there's an issue. Are we each other's keeper? When I see my fellow Trinity member out of Trinity United Church, and the person is doing something wrong, am I free to tell the person that, hey, bro, this one? Because sometimes, genuinely, the person might not know. Genuinely. Sometimes, genuinely, the person might not know. Because it's become so much of a norm that you don't even realize that it is wrong. But am I free to do that? Can I say that to my brother or sister? I would wish that if anyone saw me doing something, the person can come to me and say, Auntie Bridget, you teach children. When you do this, what do you want the children to do? I would really wish someone would come to be able to tell me. And I think that's the kind of relationship we must have with each other. I told one Sunday school boy that I can beat you and your daddy will thank me. And he was like, I said, yes, because your daddy knows that I will not beat you for the wrong reason. So we must be able to get to that level where we are helping each other, because it's difficult. Where we are helping each other. Yeah.
In fact, now that Bridget mentions, I think we'll come into a society where each family now seems to protect its own. I always say that growing up, for our generation, we lived in a community. your parents were not your biological parents. Any adult within the community was your parent. And I always cite one of our fathers, Mr. Tego of blessed memory. Look, you do the wrong down the road. Mr. Tego had this habit. He would grab you, punish you, take you home, and report you. And he did this to me once. He actually went home, left message for my auntie to be given to my father. He came back, and then he said, "This is what Nyadukwe did. I beat him. Have you beaten him?" And that's the kind of community we lived in. So as you walk around, it's like there were other people who watched over you. Once you see them, even if you were doing the wrong thing, you run away.
Yeah.
Today, it is not there. Unfortunately, if my child has the wrong thing and you raise it, I am protected for my child. Rather than supporting you to support my supporting you to deal with my child. And therefore, the children are growing up, picking up wrong signals. Think that daddy would always support me when I do the wrong. And that is the kind of society we are built for us, and that's part of the problem we are having with the society today.
Now let's talk about what are some of the benefits, the clean spelled out benefits that it comes with upholding integrity to us as parents and also the children. What are some of the benefits?
Largely, we end up raising well-molded children. Children who would uphold our Christian principles. Children who will learn not to lie. Children who will learn to believe what the Bible says. Children who will learn to obey the Lord. Children who will learn to obey their parents in the Lord. Children who will learn to be respectful, generally. And then when these children have grown up and they are holding offices, they'll be truthful to the offices they hold. They are truthful to themselves. They are truthful to God.
And then as parents,
I
what are
think
some of the benefits?
We are all talking about corruption in this country.
Yeah.
And that is what we all complain about. And when we talk about corruption, we are looking at the political leaders. But then we are all corrupt one way or the other. And so until we are able, when we are able to uphold these values, and as we said, whether we are being watched or not being watched, we will have a clean society. The people doing the right thing, definitely will still have those who will do the wrong. But then when the people doing the right become more than those doing the wrong, 70% Christian population in this country. So if we will live by the word, if we will uphold these values, as parents, as a society of adults, there will be less corruption. There will be enough to go around for everybody. There will be less envy, less vices in our society. So I don't know whether I can say this here, but there's a country, I'm told, which is not a Christian country, but they uphold integrity. The values of integrity is ingrained in them. And so you go and you will leave your thing and come back and meet it, regardless of the value. So if we are saying, as Christians, the Bible is telling us to be salt and light, and we are supposed to lead the way, then we need to do this. And when we do that, we will impact the larger society, and we would have peace. We would have progress in all that we do. And as Nee says, the children who will come after us, who are going to be the future leaders of this country, will also be men and women of integrity.
So we realize that there are mass benefits in upholding this whole issue of integrity, but then the challenge is how best can we consistently go by this. We have a comment by Reverend Martin Obeng. He says that the church provides an opportunity for mentoring, and this could be directly or indirectly. What do you think about that? What has the church brought in indirectly?
So
just a quick one.
So the church has its own programs. And you remember I mentioned earlier that as leaders of the church, you say one thing and yet you end up doing another. So when everybody within the church, let's say within the children or the youth, see that leaders of the church, as in the leaders, council members, adults within the church, are constantly preaching the right thing and doing the same thing, indirectly are affecting their lives.
Great.
Right? The church itself runs programs.
Yeah.
Like what we are doing today. This is what we are discussing. If anybody is listening, they are hearing clearly what the church wants to send out as a signal. So pick it and let us all work with it.
Yeah. We have another comment by Ellen Sowa. It says that as a society, we must deal with the push effects that brings these integrity issues, that is inefficient public service, etc. We must put pressure on the various institutions to perform. So that means that Ellen is taking it into the wider range where our ability to uphold integrity must affect what is going on in the society, just as you said.
You and I are the ones who are employed in the public sector.
Exactly.
So that's the point I make. We keep on making. It is, I am employed, you are employed. If I choose to do the right thing in the public sector, in the civil service, what will happen? If I sit as a judge and I choose to do the right thing, what will happen? If I'm a lawyer prosecuting a case in the courtroom and I choose to do the right thing, what will happen? So if all of us will just go back and just, each and every one of us will just go back and live that life of moral principle, the whole that moral principle. Go back to the basics of what the Bible says and live by it. That's the end of it. It's simply said, it is difficult to do. That we will not deny it. It's difficult to do.
I would want to add that I think we have all become, we have all accepted the fact that we need to, let me say, put weight on papers for things to get done. We have all accepted. Yeah. If we stop putting weight, it would be difficult, because what I've realized is the person, because the person wants the weight, would make your life very, very difficult. Yeah. I remember about 15 years ago, I was doing passports for my children, and it got missing. They didn't know. So I was directed to go to one of their offices. And a senior officer actually had the nerve to tell me that if I had paid someone to do this passport for me, I wouldn't be going through the stress. And I just lost it. And I told him, look, you know the work I do, if I also want people to pay me before I do the work I'm paid to do, it would end in loss of life. So, and he sat up straight away and helped me. Finally, the passport was in the north, and they found it. So they will make it difficult for you, because when the right thing is done, when the system is run correctly, money does not land in my individual pocket. But we are all looking at our personal gain over the gain of the business we are employed in, over the gain of what do you call it, the country as a whole. And then we all sit back and we are talking about politicians.
I think that we've learned a lot for today. And can you give us some food for thought, something we can take home?
Simply, for me, in simple terms, let's just go back to the basics. What does the Bible say? Let us just go back to what the Bible says and live the life as the Bible will tell us to live. Train up the child the way he should go, he will not depart from it. But when training the child, as an adult who's training the child, I must live by those same moral principles. Let us all live by Christian principles, and we'll all be the better for it. Not just at home, but in the society as well.
Okay, so now Gloria says that teach children some moral values. We owe school fees. I think we've
read this one already.
We've gone through this. And then it says that exercising prudent judgment in borrowing, or not misappropriating money from church accounts, nor being tempted to steal, is also one thing. How honest are we when alone with these offerings without looking over our shoulders? So these are questions that still comes to us. It says that, if Abraham says, the church sees our children on Sundays for a limited period of time. So much as church has responsibility to teach the children the right way, the first responsibility lies with the parents as well. So these are comments that are coming in, and these are still reiterating the fact that upholding integrity, whether somebody is watching or not, is very, very important. Auntie Bridget, you wanted to add something to close?
Yes,
the
I
remarks?
think that for me, when we have accountability partners, it would help us. When we see each other and we can actually call each other to book, it would help us. There are times when maybe I'm very stressed and I jump a red light and I'm like, oh, so if any of the children see me, oh. And this we might see as little things, but then they are all very, very, important. So we should be able to hold each other accountable. If I come to your workplace and I find that things are not straight, I should be able to tell you that, oh, I think this thing should not go this way. And when we are being corrected, let's all know that the Bible is our standard. And so let's stand by it. Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you both, Ni Adokwe and then Auntie Bridget. Viewers, it's been another interesting time here with Let's Talk About. We would want to say a big thank you to our guests and our sponsors as well. Join us same time next week for another interesting and engaging topic. I have been your host, Annie Owusua Nkulenu. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.